side of this, despite advancements, there is disparity in access to digital resources among students. So not only are the systems fragmented, what they're leveraging to access this expanded and extended academic enterprise is there's disparity. It's not similar. Add to that more and more focus on robust cybersecurity practices, not just the security aspects, but the regulations, the compliance, data privacy needs, data retention needs. All of this is coming to play. And finally, the rapid pace of innovation in AI. So when we think of a digital campus, it's not a set of automations and it's not a set of online courses outside of the realm of campus. It's fundamentally a different way of operating because your students' experiences is based on a seamless blend of the physical and the digital. Think how impressive your campuses are. I talk about this all the time. When somebody walks through campus, they see the physical campus, it's impressive. But more so now, we used to say this all the time that if a students come to campus, we know we have a very high chance of converting them. If they're coming to a campus, physical campus in a prospecting phase, very high chance of converting them to come to your campus to take the 4-year journey. Now it's that, but it's also all these interactions that they have. The sum total of their digital interactions matter a lot before they come to your campus. And as they are going through the 4-year, 2-year, how many ever years through your campus. But what we want to do is reimagine how your institution operates, keeping mission fidelity, keeping what is unique. But how does this operate? Thinking about this digital campus transformation. The value generation focuses on fulfillment of service while optimizing the very process that delivers the service. And me take you through some of the modeling of this new playbook. This really here is the blueprint that we use. And every element that you see here has a set of principles, processes, design principles, operating model elements that make up each of these blocks. So fundamental to our blueprint is a student-centric experience design, flexible and innovative pedagogy, and programming that engages and retains students. These are the three fundamental blocks. Then you see the horizontal enablers, data and insights. They are strategic enablers. Yes, data is the currency when you think of digital economy. It is absolutely the fuel. It is absolutely the currency. Not just data that shows trends, but data that helps you change near-term outcome. Many institutions are talking about digital, right? So everyone's been talking about this digital journey, digital transformation. What's the biggest misconception about digital transformation, and how should leaders reframe their approach? Michael, and maybe you can start us off, and then Mike, please.
Yeah, I think that people kind of compartmentalize what technology does, and when I say that, they're not thinking about technology as really being an operational partner in and of itself. So when we talk about digital transformation, we're really talking about improving business operations, expediency. I love the lead time that we talked about in terms of turning around conversations with prospective students. You think about all the things that we can do across the enterprise as real partners. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about what the technology can do. So you take a prospective student, as you talked about, this lead to enrollment. You can turn that time around much more quickly, especially if you can package aid quickly or give an estimate. You can take a current student that is interested in a new major, and you can talk about the technology that would enable them to find out what's it mean if I change my degree? What's objective? My time to degree, is it going to increase? And the expediency which that information can be given to the student. So they can then, without waiting for an advisor, get accurate information.
Right.
Accurate is important. They don't have to go vet it themselves. The technology can provide them that what if analysis. You can take an employee, for instance, and the employee experience, they can have digital mentors with AI technology that goes out and looks at structured and unstructured data to be able to provide them information. So they may have a policy question and they can immediately ask it and the AI comes back with it. They could have analytics that they need and the AI will go look at their databases and be able to extract and provide them the information they need. And they're asking the question in common language. They don't have to, know SQL and be able to come back with that.
Yeah.
You can think about executives that need, we're moved beyond predictive analytics. We're at prescriptive analytics. So instead of an executive sitting there and thinking, okay, this is what's, where my financial situation is looking and what predictions are possible, instead of predictions, they're getting prescriptive. So actionable items are being presented to the executives, or the managers, and they're able to actually make operational efficient decisions with expediency rather than waits, delays, or flying blind, frankly.
The biggest misconception is perceiving digital transformation as simply a technology project or a product. So it means different things to different people, and that's part of what the challenge is, and even what can be off-putting when the phrase digital transformation is overused. It can become tiresome to people who are looking for real world solutions to their problems. So some presidents may consider, oh, that's a IT
Yeah.
initiative, and marketing will tell you that it's a way to better engage students, and your CIO would say, oh, it's a business and process improvement initiative and an ERP implementation, and your CFO would tell you it's about cost savings by bringing your technology up into the cloud. And all of those things are to a degree correct, but those are all too narrow in perspective. So digital transformation is about business and mission and cultural commitment to leverage technology to do things differently, but also to do different things, to improve student experience, to improve employee experience, to improve the institution.
You mentioned change management. I'm reading the question out as an important aspect of the transformation, of the digital transformation. Have you found these organizations understand the importance of change management, or is there initial pushback?
Well, I'll say it is almost always the first thing, when as a systems integrator, longtime systems integrator, and it's always included because transformation means change, that it's always embedded in the proposals, and it's almost the first thing that institutions tend to want to cut. Yeah, as much as you argue for it, and unfortunately it winds up being cut. And the real sad part of that is you can have the best technology and the best solution, and if you don't deal with the people part of it,
Yeah.
a project can be looked and seen as a failure or not as successful because you didn't prepare for the change. And really that change is not just the end user, right? I'm really talking about the leadership change too, because their expectations have got to be aligned with the goals and objectives that you have for the project. So unfortunately, I'm going to say change tends to fall by the wayside too frequently with transformation projects.
When we think of the student information systems, again, we follow the evolution of these systems. A lot of times they're transactional systems, so much is happening. But then, as you think of the role of student information system, HR, finance, the whole ERP system, what role do they play in transformation? And then how should we think of them beyond just it manages the data, right, through those transactions? So talk to us a little bit about that layer of systems. You're on mute, Michael.
Thank you
Thank
for that. I'll say that there's probably been no more exciting period of time to live through than the one we are today with the dramatic transformation that AI is playing. And so all the ERP systems, and I tell you, whether you're talking to faculty, staff, especially faculty, staff, or students, how often are people saying, "Oh, wow, I love my systems that I'm working with." They're they're helping me. I'm efficient. You know, these comments are not made, and they weren't made even in the last generation of software, but we're truly entering with embedded AI a period of time where it's wow, the systems are really helping me now. They're helping me with expediency of information, much like even that student, that a prospective student to lead, you know, the turnaround time greatly improves that student's view of an institution, their likelihood to enroll. Well, similarly, if I'm a worker and I'm getting expedient, I have a digital assistant that actually predicts what I'm trying to accomplish and is helping me, or just answering basic questions, or being able to perform data analytics with plain language, and I'm not asking IT to run a dashboard for me or create a report. Now I'm going to be able to get it immediately. That experience is transformational in itself. It creates efficiency. And the predict or prescriptive part of the AI that's actually able to tell people do X, Y, and Z to circumvent a potential issue you may have. Or let me, you know, I'm identifying already at-risk students because I'm looking and I see that somebody's financial aid has dropped. They're suddenly their grades are dropping. There's a bunch of things happening and we need an intervention. And here's the intervention you should start with, or here's a roadmap of interventions you need to do to retain that student. It is a dramatic shift in the way
It is.
we can operate, and it's an exciting one.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? When you were talking about this, and we all, um, I think all of us are using some version of a chat GPT or something similar, and we could go into that discussion for a separate hour. But this whole notion we've held sacred for a long time, right? That enterprise systems, their platform systems, they're working to automate these big things, and critical transactions like registrations and everything are happening. But we've always craved for those enterprise systems to help us take a personal journey, and that's been too much of a chasm, right? Like, it has been too much of a chasm. We tried this even with the learning management systems, and we wanted them to be the LMS, but they wanted them to take an adaptive journey, understanding not just the what assignments the student, but the behavioral journey. Back in 2001 and 2, I remember doing a large ERP project with Accenture. We used to call it job aids, because they aided us in our jobs. And enterprise systems could never quite be that, because they were, even when we had multiple workflows within the system, they were very set, right? There's a set amount. And with embedded AI, it's the first time that we can actually take them and not fragment them, but they can still support these personalized journeys. And it's very exciting. I mean, there's a lot to be done, right? Those journey maps have to be developed, and the data has to be done right, and the policies need to be embedded right. But for the first time, we see that, and it's a fascinating thing. Not to think about your SIS, student information systems, as, or the finance system is where the reconciliations are happening, and the posting to general ledger of everything needs to happen, because otherwise the money is not real. It hasn't come in. We knew that part, but it's these personalized journeys. So it's appreciate that. I think, let me end on a culture question. We get this a lot in all our work, which is, there is this, we've always done it this way and it hasn't worked, and that's kind of the mindset, right? We tried to do this before, it didn't work. And so maybe Michael, and Mike, both of you will end with your reflections on this whole element of organizational, and in our case, institutional culture.
Yeah, I guess if I was going to start, change isn't easy. Let's begin there. Having the proper roadmap for how you define a let's say a project, a transformation project, defining it up right and making it consumable as a project down the road is important. And I think that's the part that people get concerned that the project is not going to be managed appropriately. It's not going to be boxed in right. It's not going to have the right outcomes. But if you set the project up correctly from the start, then you actually can see the journey, right? And that, I think that's important. So one, I think there's the fear of change, the fear you don't know what the outcomes are going to be or the roadmap. And these are things that CORE provides, right? CORE is going to help you do all those things. And you want to start with the art of the possible. Let's not box ourselves in to start with. We may box it in later because, hey, there's a cost element or there's some other roadblocks, but let's just start with what's an ideal situation, what's ideal business practices, what's ideal outcomes. How do I want to deploy predictive analytics so that, or not predictive, prescriptive analytics, so that I'm really harnessing the value of the latest technology, right? Those things all need to happen, and a lot of people just don't want to start that journey. And I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a CFO, CIO, et cetera, and they said, you know what, I'm at the tail end of my career. Do not want to undertake another ERP business transformation project. I just want to write it because.
It's it's quite a journey, right? But that whole art of the possible, if we start with a constrained vision, we will end with nothing. So appreciate that. Thank you, Michael and Mike. Bring us home. We're on the hour.
Yeah, you bet. So in a minute or less, people value the things that they're going to lose more than the things they're going to gain. And just have a relationship with these people, understand their key desires and their key fears, and approach the situation with the right balance of care and courage. Be empathetic, understand their point of view, but also hold the line as to the critical importance that we need to change. Higher education needs to change. We need to change.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. On that note, we are actually 1 minute over time, so we will wrap up our session. Thank you to our participants. Thank you, Mike. Thank you.